You know, some films are so powerful, so dangerous, that governments and huge corporations will do pretty much anything to stop you from seeing them. Today, we're talking about the documentaries they tried to bury and the filmmakers who risked it all to bring the truth out into the open.
So, that really is the big question, isn't it? What makes a film so dangerous that it has to be banned? Is it just the raw, undeniable truth they managed to capture on camera? Or is it the fear of what happens when that truth finally gets out? We're going to dig into films that blew up official stories, uncovered some truly hidden horrors, and, in the end, prove that you just can't silence a powerful idea.
All right, first up, we've got the films that took a sledgehammer to the official histories that countries tell about themselves. You know, these are the stories that governments want to control with an iron fist, because those stories are what define who the heroes are, who the villains are, and really, the entire foundation of their power.
Okay, I want you to imagine this. Imagine going to Germany 40 years after World War II and finding out that Nazis were still in power. That's pretty much what filmmaker Joshua Oppenheimer described when he went to Indonesia. He was there to make a film about the genocide in the 1960s, but he discovered something absolutely shocking. The former death squad leaders weren't just free, they were local celebrities, and they were more than happy to boastfully reenact their mass killings for his camera.
And this is where you see the complete clash of realities. The official government story paints these guys as heroes who saved the country from communists. But the film, oh man, the film shows the bone-chilling truth. They're unrepentant killers, proudly acting out their worst crimes. And because they were still in power, the government couldn't just outright ban the film, so instead they tried to bury it with censorship. But it didn't work. The truth got out through secret screenings and people just releasing it for free online.
Now, let's talk about state control on a whole different level. The Russian director Vitaly Mansky gets an invitation to North Korea to make a documentary about a young girl fully approved by the state. The government was obviously expecting a shiny piece of propaganda. What they got instead was a masterclass in how to beat the system.
I mean, the level of control here was just absolute. Look at this. North Korean officials dictated every single thing. They wrote the script, they chose the family, the locations, and they approved every scene. And at the end of each day, they would sit down, review all the footage, and delete anything that wasn't perfect. They were literally trying to build a fake reality for the camera.
But here is the genius move. Mansky's crew just kept the cameras rolling between the official takes. They were capturing the government handlers, staging scenes, feeding lines to the family, all the stuff that shows you how the sausage is made. And they did it with a system that recorded to 2 memory cards at the same time. They'd hand one card over for inspection, but they'd secretly pocket the other one. And that hidden card, that was the real film, a documentary about the making of a propaganda film. And then they smuggled it out of the country. Unbelievable.
All right, our next set of films are the ones that pulled back the curtain on some truly systemic cruelty. We're talking about the kind of horrors that happen inside institutions and industries that really need the public to stay ignorant so they can keep doing what they're doing.
So back in 1967, a filmmaker named Frederick Wiseman gets this incredible access to the Bridgewater State Hospital for the criminally insane. The film he made, Titicut Follies, was so raw, so dehumanizing in what it showed about the patients inside, that it led to the first ban of its kind in American history.
So the state of Massachusetts actually sued him. They demanded the film be banned and that every single copy be destroyed. The official reason? Violation of patient privacy. But a lot of people were pretty sure the real reason was to hide the horrific treatment. We're talking force feedings, constant humiliation, from ever seeing the light of day. And the courts agreed. The film was basically buried for almost 25 years.
Just like Wiseman had to fight to show what was going on behind those hospital walls, decades later, another film crew had to go to some pretty incredible lengths to expose a totally different kind of hidden horror. Their target was the annual dolphin hunt in Taiji, Japan, a brutal practice that was shielded from the world in this remote, heavily guarded cove.
Getting this footage basically required a mission straight out of a spy movie. Seriously, they were officially denied permission to film, so they put together this elite team. They had custom cameras built and hidden inside fake rocks. They used military-grade thermal imaging to see what was happening in the dark. They even put microphones underwater to capture the sounds of the hunt. It was nothing less than a high-tech heist, all to get to the truth.
Now there's one film on this list that's maybe one of the hardest to watch, and it's called Earthlings. For 6 years, the creator used hidden cameras to expose the cruelty that's just built into the industries that rely on animals. The footage from factory farms, from labs, from fur farms, it was so graphic, so unflinching, that it was met with a total wall of silence. Major networks, big platforms, they all refused to promote it. They were basically trying to bury it before anyone could even see it.
But here's a funny thing. What happens when you try to suppress a film? Well, as this final section shows, sometimes the attempt to censor something is actually the best publicity it could ever hope for.
Okay, perfect example. Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11. This film was diving into some very controversial ideas about the Bush administration and the lead up to the Iraq War. Well, its distributor was owned by Disney, a company that was absolutely terrified of the political heat. So they did something you almost never see. They tried to block their own film from being released.
Well, that attempt to silence the movie became a massive news story all by itself. All that free publicity, it had a stunning effect. Fahrenheit 9/11 just exploded at the box office. It opened to almost $24 million, making it the #1 movie in the country. The effort to bury it completely backfired and turned it into a cultural phenomenon. To this day, it's still the highest-grossing documentary of all time.
And this isn't some new thing either. Way back in 1966, the BBC paid for a film to show what a nuclear attack on the UK would actually look like. The result was a film called The War Game, and it was so terrifyingly real that the BBC and the British government banned it from being shown on TV for 20 years. They were afraid it would cause mass panic. Of course, that ban just turned it into this legendary, almost mythical film that everyone wanted to see.
And a truth can find its way to the very top, even when entire countries try to block it. The film No Fire Zone, which was pieced together from smuggled cell phone footage of war crimes, was banned in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and India. But despite that, it was screened at the United Nations and seen by world leaders, prompting some incredibly powerful reactions.
So how does the truth escape then? Well, sometimes a well-timed leak to the press turns a corporate ban into a brilliant marketing campaign. Other times, filmmakers just sidestep the censors completely and release their work online for free. You've got film festivals giving these movies a global stage, and sometimes it's as simple and as powerful as smuggled copies being passed from one person to the next.
This quote from Joaquin Phoenix, who narrated Earthlings, just nails it perfectly. You can't stop people from talking. The very act of trying to suppress something creates this mystique around it. It makes you want to share it. And in that process, every single person who watches becomes a distributor of that forbidden truth.
Which really brings us to the final thought here. These films are about battles for truth that happened in the past, but they really make you wonder. With information being more controlled and curated now than ever before, what stories are being fought over right now? What truths are being filmed at this very moment on some hidden memory card, just waiting for a chance to get out?